We have been here for 9 years. People come in here and just want to tell me what's going on in their life. I had a woman that had come 2 or 3 times, and she had this look on her face, and I said, "Are you okay?" And she looked at me and she said, "No, actually I'm not." And she said, "I didn't have anywhere to go." I said, "What do you mean you didn't have anywhere to go?" I said, "Are you safe?" She said, "No, Michelle, I've just been told that I have to have both of my breasts removed, and I have a 17% chance of surviving it." And I just realized I didn't have anybody to tell. And of course my heart broke for her. We both sat there and cried. I didn't realize the impact that we had in the community when this virtual stranger came up to me and decided to tell me her death sentence, basically. The community needs us as much as we need them. And I know people are thinking, well, then just quit, just give up the business. At this point, we've invested so much of ourselves to just give it up. I'm not going to go down without a fight. I'll go down on my terms with my fight.
Next time you go to your favorite restaurant, you may notice higher prices.
Beef rose nearly 57% in price.
Used to buy bacon for $2.40 a pound. It spiked up to $6.
In August 2021, almost 4.3 million Americans quit their job.
Far too many restaurants have indicated that they do not see a return to anything approaching normal business conditions this year.
Amazon, Walmart, the big guys will find a way to get it done, but I think where the stress will be in the system is in some of the littler folks who don't have the resources.
The Port of Los Angeles will open over 60 extra hours a week.
We have always been open 24 hours a day, so it's not something new.
The only way to resolve a pandemic-driven supply shortage is to end the pandemic.
Why aren't people coming back to work?
One of them is childcare, of course, which is why the president's Build Back Better vision is going to be good for the labor market.
Before COVID, before Biden, there was a problem with childcare, and people still went to work.
Some folks have raised worries that this could be a sign of persistent inflation, but that's not our view.
It's going to go down in history as one of the worst inflation calls by the Federal Reserve.
The policymakers in Washington, unfortunately, have almost every month been behind the curve.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
We did not qualify for PPP. I had incorporated 2 years ago, so I was self-employed. I was using students from the community college. There's a culinary program. So we didn't have anybody on payroll. We incorporated, we have people on payroll now, but they wanted a longer time in business, and we couldn't show that. I had a little girl who worked here for me and quit. She quit because she got her stimulus check. She had enough money to live on for, I think she said 60 days without having to depend on anybody. I said, "You're depending on that paycheck." I said, "You walk out that door, the door doesn't swing both ways."
Small restaurants like Brewed Downtown are having trouble with supply chains, having trouble with cost of services. In the old days, we had small businesses in towns. Those businesses would supply the funding for things like fire departments, community activities, youth activities. This little restaurant, for instance, sponsoring even something as simple as a Little League team is now a challenge because every dollar they make has to go into just keeping the doors open.
It started to become harder to order what we needed to order from our food purveyors. It was, this was out of stock, that was out of stock. The prices started to rise on everything. My cups were 500 cups in a case, was about $50. With the delivery and everything, it was about $50. The last time I just ordered, which was a couple of weeks ago, was $148. Straws, I had waited 16 weeks to get straws. All of those little things started this big snowball chain of how are we going to recover from this? 85% of my customers are military. The median age of the military here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, they're the age of about 23 years old. They're of a low rank. They make next to nothing. So I'm going to price my stuff outside of the box from what they could afford, which I didn't want to have to do that. Then everything went dead. I got a phone call from my rep saying, "We're sorry, US Foods can no longer take you as a customer." And I said, I thought it was a joke. I have a good relationship with my salesman. And he was like, "No, Shell," he said, "it's making me sick." He said, "This is my commission. This is my livelihood. And I'm telling you, I can't service you. It's come down from above that we can't," and he was crying, "we can't take you as a customer. We can't do it anymore. So I'm pulling it off." And I said, "For what?" He said, "Well, we're told that they're only going to service the larger accounts." And I said, "What does that mean, a larger account?" And I hung up the phone and I blinked a couple of times and I told my husband, and he's like, "What are we going to do?" We were going out and buying $100 worth of ham, $100 worth of turkey at the grocery store. And I kept seeing our bottom line, where we were operating in the black, we were starting to dip into my red. And I finally got fed up. I wrote to US Foods. I wanted somebody to hear me, not just my food rep. And I wrote to them and I heard nothing. I wrote to them again and I heard nothing. The thing that crushed me was that, why do we keep making the bigger companies bigger and allowing the smaller companies to just go by the wayside?
When I was a kid, I was told the story of the ant and the grasshopper. The grasshopper fed off of the ants who did all the work, and it wanted to be entitled to the food and the harvest of the ants. But when winter came, the ants decided to take care of their own, and so they took the food down into their shelter underground. But the grasshopper was too big to get into the ground, and he stood at the door and he said, "Feed me or I will starve." And the ants looked at him and said, "You go ahead and starve. We will take care of our own." This is what we are in danger of in this country. I know that it's hard to change from having an easy road, if you want to call it that. I actually think it's harder to receive than it is to earn, because you have to give up your personal integrity and pride. I know that the American people can do it. We can invest in our community again by investing our time, our labor, and our resources to building an America much more like what we grew up with, where the individual mattered, the individual counted, and the small business led the way to a strong community.
I think entrepreneurship is a grand idea. I think everybody, from the span of time where there was a job created, it was always, I could probably do that better, or I would do this differently. And I think entrepreneurship from its inception kind of helped create every city in the world. Somebody had to start somewhere. The small business backbone across America is huge, but we tend to go with what we know. We know McDonald's, we know Wendy's, we know Taco Bell, and the brand recognition is what they have to their advantage. What we have to our advantage is we put our heart and soul into this. We put every ounce of love into everything that we make, everything that we do into our customers, and we like to feel that that love and support is there for us as well. I think we just get overlooked. I will give my last penny. If I have to donate blood to keep the door open, I will, because it's become as much a part of us as we are of it.